Welcome everyone to yet another episode of the People, Passion and Purpose podcast. This is our special series working with women and enabling women to share their stories. And I firmly believe that all stories are wonderful, all stories are beautiful, and all stories deserve to be shared. And in one such space, I was introduced to Dr. Lakshmi here. By one of my very close friends, Neerja Ganesh, and you know her as the networking queen of the Aspire for Her and other circuits. And so when she said you should talk to Dr. Lakshmi, I was like, let's do it. And here we have her. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining in. And I was just about reading up a little bit on you. So you've been in the IT sector, especially in the healthcare, for over 20 plus years. You're a dentist, you are a singer, you're a writer. I think you recently published a book of yours. So I'd be happy to, chat with you and sort of take this podcast along. So how are you feeling today?
Good, as always.
Fantastic. So, if I were to ask you this space of what are your interests and what are your passions, I see quite a list of them. So, would you like to share a little bit more about what are your passions, what are your interests?
Yeah, see, one thing is I like to explore a lot of things because I I keep myself very open and I'm a curious person, so I have that flair for trying new things. So nowadays, there are a lot of opportunities, and I always feel that I should have born in this era where you have better things to explore and technology wise as well as in real time. A lot of changes, and life has become very fast compared to what it was almost 2 or 3 decades before. So I'm trying to cope up with all those changes that is happening and trying to explore things. So that's how the day goes very fast. Passion in the sense, yes, I do have passion for music. I love music. I'm basically trained in classical, South Indian classical, and my family is also very much inclined in that. So we get to hear a lot. We attend concerts. So that is one thing which is part and parcel of my life. And the other things, writing came a little later. Maybe I'm just a few years into it. So started with blogging in social media like LinkedIn and Facebook. So based on good responses where people started appreciating, people started giving me more ideas. I tried different kinds of blogging and then into the writing a book. So first one was it's a medical legal fiction which I had published
Mm-hmm.
in uh, Kindle, and the one which is coming up is a physical book. It's something that is closer to heart again. So based on my life experiences, I've created some characters and brought in some stories into it. The book name is Delicate Darlings.
Very interesting. I like the title. So, uh, being a writer myself, I think I have a problem that how do I sort of give a name to a book? So, how did this name sort of come about?
Primarily, it is all about the children's psyche and how they interpret what they see and what they hear, and it's basically their perspectives about the world, like how they see as they grow at different phases of life. What is their thought process and what they expect from parents and how they interpret the conversations between parents, their peer children and friends and teachers. So it's all based on that. So somewhere or the other, that the innocence and the sensitive part of the children always surfaces up, and right, so that is why I just put it as delicate. And darlings are something, it's a very common word, especially when you are relating it to kids.
Hmm. So, like, I want to sort of also understand, if it's dental and healthcare and IT, how did, like, what happened there?
I have been a very passionate person with respect to learning, because every day it is very important that we keep ourselves, trying out something, reading out something new, so that you keep yourself, the brain busy, like sort of. So uh, regarding the changeover, yeah. So for that, I need to go back to my, you know, my days where I was trying to get into college, right? So I, since as I said, I have gone through a lot of challenges with respect to the health when during my growing phase. So I used to encounter with doctors and other people in the medical field very often. So I was very very involved, and I felt very, I got carried away with the the nobleness of those people who bring out the change and help us recover in several instances, right? So that was one thing which I had, I have had it very clear in my mind that I should take up something on the medical field as my profession. So when I reached a phase where I started writing entrances, engineering was a cakewalk for me. Pretty much the first attempt I got very good colleges, but at some point I realized that's not my cup of tea, because I have been egging for joining the medical side. So I had to put a little more effort, and finally ended up in Government Dental College, Trivandrum. Then the journey towards IT, like, okay, so after the completing the profession, I mean, education in Trivandrum, my parents were in Chennai, so I moved back to Chennai, and I was working there as a lecturer in a college. So it was going okay, but phase came that what next, sort of. So because I keep looking forward for it. So whether to settle in Chennai, set up a clinic, and get into the next level of dentistry, is that what I wanted? Or so a lot of questions were coming up in the mind, but I was not too sure, because my father was also on the retirement period, so decisions had to be made immediately, because there is a lot of money involved in setting up a clinic and finding a place. And once you set there, you should make sure that you have to work towards it, and this it becomes permanent. So because it's an investment, right? So those things where it was not very convincing for me, because dentistry as such is a lot of physical effort. So on the long run, how long I can be on those mode and sustain about it was again a question mark. So I started thinking otherwise. Then I had an opportunity to visit London. My brother was living there. He is an IT professional, so I just went there for a vacation, and I started meeting my own seniors and some of the people there who work for the NHS system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first time I got exposed to a hospital software system, which is adapted to the technology and how it is driving the daily routine work in a hospital. And so it was pretty fascinating for me, like, since I was first time exposed this, I'm talking about 25 years before, like, sort of. So I really didn't uh, didn't have that kind of a knowledge on a application that is helping interact with multiple systems, multiple people. Then my brother was a person who said, yes, this is something as an emerging domain where IT needs hospital systems to be developed, and for which software team needs a person who is having a background with medical knowledge.
Mm.
So you can just try your side of it because you have some knowledge on the medical side, and you can get adapted to the IT side also. It's not that difficult. So I started applying some openings from London, and finally I got placed in a company in Hyderabad. So I came back and resigned from the job and then joined the IT job.
Mm.
That's how it started. It never planned, but it happened just like that.
I think some of the things are best left unplanned and going
Right.
with the flow. Yeah. So and maybe one of the other things that sort of came to my head. My granny always used to say that whatever you study never goes to waste. So it always comes somewhere in whatever way of life. So
Right, right.
from the PDS to then into the whole system development for healthcare. I think yeah, it's a fantastic space. But would you like to share any adventures, specifically around say women who are getting into say newer sectors or getting back to newer work?
Yes. So it might sound very easy and crazy to say that you can just try it out, and it's not what it is, right? So whenever you are trying to figure out something new, you have to do a little bit of deep diving and a little bit of groundwork on what you're trying to attempt, whether it is something that you aspire or you're really looking forward, or is it something that is in line with your thought process, your kind of work, or whatever it is. It can be a passionate hobby or anything. So until unless you're confident that you should give it a try, the result may be different, but that kind of a situation you should be in before venturing into anything. That's what I do, because there are a lot of things I've tried, but it has never worked out. But I never regret it because I've done my part of it with a little bit of detailing, and ultimately, the result is doesn't matter.
Mm. So it goes back to Krishna. So do your work, take care of. I will take care of the results. Whatever needs to come to you will come to you.
In several instances, it's been proved in my life because I never anticipated sometimes some things will click, but it clicked. But
Yeah.
effort has gone in, like, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had sometimes sort of put ourselves into buckets saying, I'm only this, I'm only that. And sometimes when we really open our eyes to whatever else can also be a part of that, that's when, a lot of things shift, a lot of things change.
Right.
And realize that, hey, this could also have been something that we can work together at.
Yeah.
Mm. And you said something that I caught on. I am a coach, so we always catch on to all the right interesting words that come up. So you said you would like to be born in this age, when all the innovations and other things are happening. And I saw you were passionate about also AI, VR, and all the innovative spaces that there are. So what excites you about AI and what excites you about the future?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. See, we are in a crossroads where the from the healthcare perspective also, if you see, lot of R&Ds are happening from the core healthcare side, the pharma side, and also from the IT side. So it is it and if you see the kind of efforts and money that is being put, right? uh, Ultimately we know R&D is some space where there is absolutely there is no prediction on the outcome. It is only like if you try 100%, maybe point 0.1 or 0.001% there is a success on what you're trying to find out. Maybe our targets may not be right. Right later we realize that So that is the kind of situation we are in. So so fast. So one thing is the time that is getting utilized is very critical. So the time factor, the return of what we are trying to achieve and trying to get as the result is very critical. So faster the better is what the motto currently,
Mm.
in wherever you ask, that will be the expectation. So the best part of it from the IT side is the AI and ML side, the algorithms which we are coming up with, which goes 100 times faster. It tries to bring in and tries to churn out all the permutation combinations and brings out totally unpredictable results as an outcome, right? So that helps in giving. One thing is the faster result, second is something at a different dimension level, analysis and observations, right? Which even the human brain is not competent enough to think on all those permutation combinations. So that is the most fascinating factor with the emerging technology.
Mm.
And the visualization, for example, the VR side of it, where it gives you the, if so we as practitioners, I still remember we've gone into the anatomy lab dissecting bodies and trying to go into it, each body. Yeah, even though we talk about the anatomy, there are some differences and it may not be the
Mm.
same. So it was used to be very challenging for us to visualize what we are trying to handle here. So but here now we have options where we have models to try it out, which gives you the real time feeler and the visual representation of what we are trying to target. It's amazing, something amazing. And better it better the the exposure, you have better control of things, and the outcomes like surgeries and everything is much more easier and much more, your clarity is better. So that kind of a support technology is providing in the other sense, right? So definitely that is the fascinating factor where I always try to understand. So I'm trying my own way of understanding the AI side, the ML and natural language processing side of it, like.
Mm. I think definitely true. Possibly, technology can give us podcasts like this. I don't think 10 years back, I don't even 4 or 5 years back, I don't think we had so much of understanding of the space of Zoom, video conferencing. Uh, so technology comes with its own space of how we use it. And I think, yeah, with AI, one of my friends actually working on how do we sort of look at uh, enabling faster detection of cancer based on some data analytics. And I was like, oh, wow. For us, when we say AI, ML, we're like, oh, it's going to take away our jobs, but it possibly can save lives as simply through some of the data that is being interpreted. And I think VR was a very new thing for me. I think because I am an engineer, so I don't know what happens in the non-engineering sector, but I can sort of sensing how VR can actually shift the way doctors learn about the body and they can diagnose better. So there is always something more to be had.
Yep.
Hmm. And so you said you finished your studies in Trivandrum. You're from Chennai. How are things growing up? I'll not ask your age, but how was things growing up?
Going good. And I think that's what every phase has a different kind of experiences and learnings. So it's been a very fruitful journey so far.
Hmm. So anything that you would like to share as an experience that, across life that you always remember?
Across life. uh, See, I firmly believe, like, every every person's life is different. Like, okay, so I am not the right person to give any kind of gyan here, but based on my experience, what I've learned is everything happens for a reason. So there's nothing that goes just like that. At the end of the day, when you look back, you will be able to connect the dots why certain instances happened and how it is related. Today, at this moment, I may not have an answer, but when you go, just pass it, just accept it and move ahead, then look back, probably you will be able to understand. So what I feel is, today you may be in a very difficult situation in life, maybe health issues or psychologically into some kind of stress and other things. Maybe that is going to lead us to a better outcome tomorrow. Maybe it is something that will help us learn from those experiences, right? So
Mm.
everything has an outcome. So that's how I have taken it. And I also, I'm not saying that I was very perfect in dealing with situations, but later on, the past has revealed the real sense of why I went through all of those. So that is, we have our own life which teaches us a lot of things. So I believe we should be happy about it. We should be happy being ourselves, whatever may be. And that's something I always think about it on a daily basis.
Fantastic. So, now what makes you happy?
Even the smallest thing, I mean, that's what I'm saying, I cherish a lot. For example, getting a present from anybody, can be a child, can be somebody who I know, somebody I don't know. And any new challenge, trials and challenges which I get some kind of, outcome, which is, I get excited. Talking to you today, I'm feeling very happy about it. so, so it's
I
like that. So I just take things as it comes, like.
Fantastic. I don't know what gift to give you, so yeah, fantastic. But I think you give that sort of a impression that you are somebody who loves to see how things flow and whatever comes along. Um, I am sure there are many instances where that has, like you said, in hindsight, given you an explanation as to why things happened, how things worked with. But I am fascinated by this space of, like getting into writing because I had an entry into writing, which I never considered getting into writing at all. And writing after that came to me, and then it's a different ball game altogether. So how did writing come to you? And I know you're coming from a family of artists, if I get it right.
Yeah, my mother does used to do a lot of artwork. So she was a very established painting artist. So in fact, that is one thing which helped me in, getting into the other side of it, like other than this usual medical side, dental side, and IT. So this was a lateral this thing which gave me a different perspective. Like, one thing is, art helps you to calm yourself and
Yeah.
gives you a, you will be in your own world when you start focusing on any art. Be it painting, be it writing a book, be it in something else, singing and other things. So you are in that space where you started enjoying you start enjoying yourself, and there is no limit to your imaginations, like, sort of. So that gives you a lot of pleasure and joy. So it's a completely contradictory to what you do it from the work perspective, from a routine personal work perspective, right? So that is where I think I tried in art. Started with my mom's painting and other things. I used to be a good critic. She used to feel bad when I point out mistakes. So so but that is what she had that some kind of uh, trust in my opinions, like. So that is one step, and she is the one who said that you start writing. And there were a couple of instances which triggered me that I should seriously pursue it. Until then I was just blogging and writing whatever I felt, and right. So but the seriously when I the seriousness of writing came when mom said that you have certain things you have gone through in your life which will turn out to be a good eye opener for many people, uh, but you have to put it across to them in some form such that they get to know it, and they get to start thinking on those lines, and it will be a health factor also in some ways. So that's how she narrated one of my childhood instances where how I transformed into a very very normal school going girl into a very enthusiastic performer sort of. So so in fact one of the story is exactly the same. I just whatever she said, I just put it in the writing format and put it across in the delicate darling. So that's how it started, and there are certain instances and observations from other people who have interacted with me, and which is a reality in current world. For example, take into consideration the children, bullying is something that is
Mhm.
very very common, not only in India but also outside India, where racial discrimination, and the children with differently able, they get a different experience when they are encountering the people, public, and everybody, right? So that is one things even I have gone through multiple times, but thankfully my parents were supportive, and they were very very progressive in thought thinking, right? So they prepared me upfront, and the built in that self confidence to face those. And so those, there are certain key factors uh, I was provided. I mean, as parents, they just kept on, grooming me in such a way that every instance is a new instance. You just have to face it. You can't just run away from it. So, and nothing makes me affected. And as long as I know that I am different and I'm capable of doing things differently, right? So that messages were inbuilt, or what you say, it was inside my gene, and my parents were just pushing those and supporting me. So the strength that they built in, right, the mental strength within me, that helped me move ahead and start interacting with people whom I don't know. I just go and talk to them. So that is the kind of that open free way of interactions, like. So that helped me to connect with the people, and they also try to understand me. So these are some good, valuable thoughts which I have experienced myself, which has led me to a better situation today. So those are the ones I thought, okay, as my mother said, I should start putting it up in the stories. So I started building up characters on in and around that. Every child goes through some kind of small trials and this thing in life. So those things were brought in, and how they got over it. And the other side of it is the school system, which plays a very vital role in children's life. So
Absolutely.
if they are not focused on building a personality of a child, then I don't think they are doing justice, because more than the academical, learning from books and topics, this makes a big difference, because they are the future of our world, right? So they have to be built in such a way that they think correctly. They should be able to handle difficult situations, and uh, make right kind of decisions. All this is very vital, which school has to provide, because they spend majority of their vital time there. So
Yeah.
That's one message. So likewise, there are different kinds of thought process which has come in, which was instigated by my mother, and I started writing. And so that's the reason it took almost 6 years now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Delicate Darlings has been 6 years in the making.
Yeah.
Wow. That is going to be very, very interesting. And also, I wanted to sort of also ask. So you said you were able to give critique to an art space. So what does giving critique to an art space look like? For me, everything looks fantastic. There's so many colors, so many amazing things.
I'm an expert, and as I said, I'm only a critic to my mom's painting. I'm not an expert at all because I am still a learner. In fact, I took a career break just to analyze what art is all about for almost 2 years. So, and I set up a platform for enabling art. So it's called Lasya. So still we have, so there are a lot of artists involved in there, and they try to share their opinions and artwork and all that. So it's basically, as I again say, I'm not an expert, but every art has its own, uniqueness. And we
Hmm.
cannot say that somebody's art is bad, somebody's art is good. From their eye point, whatever they can and they put in, it has come out,
Yeah.
like sort of. It is, they do their best and portray it. But critic in the sense, my mother was more of a portrait artist and oil painting artist, and she has explored almost I don't know, maybe around 20-25 forms of art. And she
Mhm.
has traveled across India and even outside India with all her artwork, and explored the that places, different art forms, especially mostly on the painting side because she was more inclined on that. And she has come up with lot of painting art, and she had taken classes. And so what from what I have interpreted is, see, if you can relate it, for example, portrait is pretty much here. You have some kind of feature you're trying to replicate, and you have seen it. For example, it's a human thing. You know what it is like, and what looks best. Sometimes slight change in the shading make difference in the expression, right? So these kind of interactions we do, like me and mom, like she looks a little sad from the face. Or is this what you wanted to interpret, or you want to make her more happy, sort of? So, so, so that, like that, if you take a picture of some kind of idol, or it can be a animal or anything, again in that the representation differs. Like,
Yeah. I think you said something that really caught my attention. So one shade here, one shade there can change somebody's expression. So
absolutely, I don't know. You've observed it. You can ask any artist; they'll agree with that.
fantastic. But would you like to share a little bit about Lasta? It looks very, very interesting.
Last year, I was a platform in my memory of my mom, because my mom in 2019. So I just wanted to give her a tribute to that. So because she has done so much in art, and I wanted to set up something in her name. So I just created this platform. So we did it in the same time around December 2019, and in Bangalore. So it's primarily a platform, very open platform, which is there. I have a link for Facebook as well as WhatsApp group, where I have connected with several artists across around the world. I mean, and they start, interacting about their kind of art forms and how's the space. And I also share certain interesting art. Especially I focus more on India because it's easier, at least, to focus on something which I am comfortable with, rather than, because I don't have much exposure even in Indian art. I'm still learning. and there are lot more. I try to encourage the artist in the group. So that is the platform, but anybody can come and start interacting. So I just give them the opportunity to express themselves and uh, try out various ways by which that can be promoted, like sort of.
Mhm. I think also just letting you know that in case you want to refer somebody or nominate somebody as the next person in the podcast, I'd be open to have them come along because I think for me, what's happened through the podcast is I think I learned a lot as an individual, as a person, and every person that I meet, I think there will be some sort of a like an interaction and osmosis between both of us in terms of conversation. And I think I am really loving the conversations that there is. Generally, I think there is a as a podcaster, there's a depth that I think the conversation is getting to the further we go to. And I'm really enjoying this conversation. So how do you see this conversation?
Yes, interesting. It's interesting, and you are not going with a specific format. You're run, it's like a impromptu kind of a discussion, which is much more easier for me to talk rather than prepare and then do it, which I never do it. So yeah. So I just wanted to give you a more briefing about my family. Like, so I live with my father, and he is one person who's very very positive oriented person. Come
Mm.
what may, yes, he says that if I come with something, asking him like, okay, this is something I should never would have tried, if if this has happened, like so some situation, like, and he'll give you 10 different dimensions on those, like, which we would have never thought through, and everything will be on a positive note. So that gives a lot of energy and vibes for that freedom to talk and do things. So that is about my father, and I have a sibling who's, or as I said, he's working in IT. His name is Karthik, and his wife is also an IT professional. She is Gayatri. So, and I have a niece, Ritvika. All are like, they are the enablers for me. They push me a lot in front with whatever I try, and we have a very energetic conversations and debates among ourselves whenever we do
Yeah.
some things. So
It always is nice to have a family that pushes us to, like see our potential. Sometimes we may not have seen our potential, and they have definitely seen ours. And I think it's always a healthy space to be at.
exactly. The reason I just gave you this inputs is that for anything, for any person to, go ahead and get into a mode of success, you need a very strong support system.
Absolutely.
Until unless you have some support system, it may be family, it may be friends, it may be colleagues, or somebody totally unknown who's trying to, be help you out. So it comes, that's what, everything is situation oriented, but ultimately nothing happens like with an individual's effort all alone. There
Yeah.
is a support system behind.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there are multiple people that are routing for us. There are things that are happening that sometimes we may not be aware of. There's something happening in, I wouldn't put it in the shadows, but necessarily not available or aware to the outside world. So you brought up a very fantastic word. So you said, there's always a space for support. So one of the things that I am also checking with women is uh, what do you do when you need help?
Ask. That is
Ask
the
initially.
most difficult thing, but most efficient and most powerful thing. Ask.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think because asking for a lot of us has been said, no, asking is not, is generally a sign of maybe putting it in a very light way, asking in is about weakness. Why can't you do it yourself? But sometimes we need help. We need to ask. We need to, be okay asking. And that's one of the formats that I just want to like sort of bring it to people's notice that it is okay to ask as part of the entire podcast series.
Very easy, very easy. Like my thing is, mind becomes very. It's a very difficult phenomena to control your mind because everything is mind driven. So, but when you see it, see, easiest way is to keep yourself open. Don't be judgmental. Like you, I am right, I am wrong. No, that is, you may be right, you may be wrong. Today you may be right, tomorrow you may be wrong. So it can be anything. So rather than going into a conclusion and putting yourself in a difficult situation, keep your mind open. There's nothing wrong. And I'm not, I always say, I always tell others also, nobody is perfect in this world. Nobody says that I'm the expert. No, it's not like that. Today I know some things. Yes, tomorrow I may learn more. So the learning will happen only when you feel that you need to learn more and you are not an expert. So that is what I'm saying. Everything happens easier way when you keep yourself humble, open, and try to accept facts as it is. There may be situations where you find some conversations or some interpretations of certain individuals may not be in line with what you expect, what we what you thought think. But if you go into the other side and see, there may be situations which they may be going through, or based on which they've come up with those answers,
Yeah,
which may be right. So we cannot be judgmental just like that when we start getting into that mode. So it's very easy, though that reduces a lot of pressure from your mind, and you will be able to tackle many things if you are in that mode.
absolutely, absolutely. And the pressure element is very, very strong. So sometimes we may not be able to express it to others, and sometimes others are able to see it. But when they ask for help, we usually say, "No, I think I've got this covered." But internally, I think we still want that help. Sometimes we don't even know that we uh, have to seek something like that.
Exactly.
Hmm. So, is there a question that you wanted me to ask, but I haven't asked you yet?
I mean, it's more of an impromptu, so I don't think I plan anything up front.
Anything that from your life or from whatever you've seen and heard from life that you would like to share to the audience as a anecdote, as a story, as an insight?
Since I'm launching this book, so I can give you some one of my experience, which is also I feel in the current era it is very vital. Uh, there was a situation in my life. For example, there was a transition. So my father had a transferable job. So he
Mm-hmm.
was working in a bank. So every 2 years, 3 years, we used to move from one place to another. So join new schools. So there was a phase where I moved from Chennai to Cochin. So
Mm-hmm.
Chennai, I had completed my 10th and I moved to Cochin for my +1. So the it so happened like the I was very good in academics, so I was one of the toppers in the school. So there was a high expectation that I'll get very high, very good marks in 10th. So when, but unfortunately, I don't know, due to some reason, the marks weren't up to the mark. Like, and people were, teachers came forward and said something has gone wrong with the evaluation. This doesn't seem to be your marks, like sort of,
Mm-hmm.
and we may have to give a re-evaluation for this. So I was too small at that time and I couldn't take any decisions. And parents were also under pressure that they had to relocate to a new place. And the admissions were getting over in the new place. So they had to quickly, move there and get a schooling for me. So they ignored those aspects and they said it's okay. It's all like 10th marks, doesn't matter. It's not going to. So for them, they had that experience that it is not that significant, right? So, but as a child, I had been, always scoring 95% and above, and consistently in the schools with school throughout the year. And I felt something is not right. They didn't do what they were supposed to do it, and I felt very down. And the next important event which impacted me, or event rather than even the scenario that impacted me as I moved down to Cochin. So, Cochin schools, they are very competitive actually. So, especially when you come to the 12th, 11th, and 12th, very competitive, and it's not easy to get admissions in good schools until unless you have a very good
Mm.
marks, right? So then what happened was, there was one chain of school which they had promised my father that I will be given admission provided she gets this much percentage of marks and above. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. So when he went and approached them, they denied the admission and stating that it was not as expected. Like, and that was one of the best schools in Cochin. And my father was very, very firm and very, very serious about it. Like, I should get admission there. And he went into the phase of pleading them that you give her a one more chance, she'll prove that this is not her marks, this is we and because of all of that, they said okay, they will give some admission in a new school where they just started it was a new branch, they just
Mhm.
started the 11th and 12th. But the scene I saw when my father went into that level of discussing with the authorities on giving me an admission, that put me off further, and I went into a very severe depression. So the impact was so much, but parents didn't realize 11th and 12th was extreme struggle for me. I couldn't focus on my studies, and I was literally, getting that fear of failure. What if I don't perform? Because there was an expectation said that I will should be performing, right? And a lot of things were dependent on that. And I kept on, brooding within us myself, and I used to give blank papers as answer papers in the exams, and I come back. Uh, and finally, a phase came in 12th. My principal called my parents and said, she has been giving blank papers in the answers and not doing well. So she may not be able to sit for 12th board. Then when parents said they weren't aware of these things, and they thought that yes, it is difficult. It's a difficult jump from 10th to 11th and 12th board. Never had that kind of a feeler that my daughter is going through something like this. Then principal took steps. She said, understanding the background of your child who is doing very well, and there is a sudden transition, please take her to a psychiatrist to evaluate what is going on, and let's give it a try for next 3 months. This is what the principal of the school, who is supposed to show 100% result in the 12th board. So she took that decision and she told my parents, go ahead. She referred me to that doctor. And there, that's when they realized that I was going through a severe depression, and I was not sleeping at nights. And there were a lot of sessions of counseling happened between with me and my parents, and everybody took it easy. The school principal gave me freedom not to attend classes. Teachers were asked to send the notes to my house, and they used to come to my house once a week to evaluate what and clear my doubts. And those things were arranged by the school. And after 3 months, with all those counseling and everything, and a little bit of medication to put myself in calm mode where, I have to break that thought process of fear of failure and not able to achieve what, I'm not good enough for my parents, and all that kind of negative thoughts were going like. So everything changed once suddenly I got up. I realized that I am not what I am now, and I have to get back to my toes. Like so that's when that the exams happened. That half yearly exam was a key thing for me, because principal said based on how you perform in that, she will decide whether I can go ahead with the public exams. So I proved to her that yes, I can do it, because there are a lot of support system there. Like the school provided a lot of support, parents, doctors, and I came back to terms. And next 3 months was like, it was like a jet train. I was running here and there, getting myself equipped for the public, and I did it. So what I'm trying to say is, these things happen even today. Children go through a lot of pressure. Until unless everybody focus and spend time with them, they will not realize the serious problem that they are going through. If that is left without addressing, I wouldn't be in this position now, because that changed me, and I got through the medical entrance, and everything changed after that.
Wow. I think that is a very powerful share. Thank you for sharing that. I think it comes from a space of sharing vulnerabilities and letting people know that, hey, I've been through this, and what was part of that, say, mentally for yourself, personally for yourself, how that transition was. And I agree with you in terms of how many kids these days are like the are going through mental health crises, mental health. Uh, I wouldn't say problems, but then yeah, there are question marks around how they see themselves. And fortunately for me, I think I've always loved exams, so I never had that. But there are other phases wherein I think it has been a phase where I've also questioned my own self, saying, "Am I at the right place? Is this the right thing to do?" And how much pressures we put on our own selves, and how it affects not just us, but all the entirety of the ecosystem. And thanks to your principal. And through this podcast, I also want to just say thanks, because that's enabled us to have this conversation, for you to make an impact to the world. So one decision, and one person's decision for somebody else, and that space of kindness, I think teachers coming to your home, sharing notes. Wow, I think that's a way
That's what
different
I'm
space.
saying. That is where this current system also has to think on those lines, rather than putting children to a pressure mode,
Wow,
right? Pressure to perform mode, which is not required. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what you learned is not going to help in any way, because there may be few people who have taken it in a very specialized mode, but other than that, the academics, the book
definitely.
knowledge doesn't add much value to your life. Rather than these things, the personal life skills, which is very critical, which is very
Absolutely.
important as far as the grooming is concerned of a child.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think it's in my pre-university that I decided saying marks is not the only aspect, and I should start talking to people. And the people's guy that I am currently, I think if the majority of the transition happened outside school, and during, say, the college times, and that's what got me into transitioning into a coach, moving out of software, getting into other things. So I'd say, for everybody listening, and all those that are viewing this, if you have kids, let them sort of explore their own self, build not just the academic ecosystem, but also the non-academic ecosystem as well.
Right.
Mhm. No, but amazing. Yeah, I just am bowled over with the story, and like also the teachers, the ecosystem there is, and for somebody to say, it's okay, you don't have to come to school, you don't have, sorry, come to class. we will share the notes. I think that's another level of kindness. And one of the questions I also did ask the few other women that have been, part of this interview series is, what's your experience with kindness? But I think I found your, without asking, I found a answer to that one. Yeah. Amazing. So I've loved the 1 hour-ish that is gone just like that. So Dr. Lakshmi, I think there's a second podcast somewhere lurking. I would like to invite you once again for another podcast. But for today, I would like to say, thank you and pause here for us to uh, just acknowledge your journey and your experiences and say thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome. So anything that you would like to sign off with?
Nothing. Always be curious in life, which will help you to move ahead, and ultimately, that's what is required. A lot of things we can handle because our body is not a simple system. It's a very amazing system. So it's just that we have to attune ourselves and give them the boost or the Horlicks or whatever possible, and drive it in the right
Yes,
direction,
yes,
right?
yes, yes. Fantastic. So yeah, I think I'm also getting exposed to that sort of sense of humor side of yours. But I think that we'll have to explore in the next podcast. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.